My next guest is Shalanda Baker, Deputy Director for Energy Justice at the Department of Energy. She joins me now to discuss how she is bringing a justice-first approach to our transition to clean energy. Welcome, and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Well, let's dive right in. Tell us about Energy Justice and the Justice 40 initiative.
I would love to. So I think you mentioned my title, which is Deputy Director for Energy Justice. I also serve as the Secretary's advisor on equity here at the Department of Energy. But this is the first time the department has ever had a role like mine. I mean, there's never been a Deputy Director for Energy Justice. And my charge is really to drive equity within this transition away from fossil fuels to clean energy. The president has signaled that equity and racial justice will be a part of this transition. And that is my work every single day at the agency. We see energy justice in a few ways. So energy justice is very much about the social and economic participation of all communities in this energy transition. And in particular, we're targeting communities that for so long have borne the burdens of the design of the energy system. So we really want to make sure that not only is there equitable social and economic participation in the energy system, but that the benefits and burdens are equitably distributed. And so that is the focus of our work every single day. And we're doing that in our standard programs, as well as this historic implementation of the bipartisan infrastructure law.
And tell us, as far as specific examples across the country of where there has been progress made over the last 18 months or so, and where do you see kind of long-term goals?
Sure. So we were so delighted a couple of weeks ago to release the announcement of 23 communities across this country that have been selected for extraordinary technical assistance to really make sure that their hopes and dreams with respect to the design of their energy systems are realized. And so this is the Communities LEAP program. This is historic at the department. And Communities LEAP stands for Communities Local Energy Action Program. And so those communities have said, we want to be a part of this transition. We want to get technical assistance, and we already have our vision for where we want to go. And so the department combined funds from across different parts of the agency, and those different programs are providing technical assistance to those communities to, again, help them realize their ultimate goals with respect to this energy transition. And so once we have that technical assistance in place, those communities will be competitive in competing for, dollars under the bipartisan infrastructure law. And of course, here at DOE, we have $62 billion in infrastructure funding that is going to be, distributed throughout the country, and every single dollar will have to go through this sort of equity filter, which is to say that we are embedding equity into the program design of all of those new programs. So we'll also have 60 new programs that are stood up under this bipartisan infrastructure law. So we're excited about the Communities LEAP program. It's one part of a broader strategy to bring equity into this transition, but we expect to see more and more progress as we continue to roll out new programs under the bill.
And specifically, you're talking about the bipartisan infrastructure bill. That's where that funding is coming from. Is that right?
Correct. And we use shorthand. We use the bill as shorthand to describe the bipartisan infrastructure law.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, and there were some concerns from progressives in Congress about the bipartisan infrastructure bill because they wanted to have one big piece of legislation that would include infrastructure as well as climate change initiatives. And of course, the transportation bill has passed, but the second component has not. Build Back Better is basically dead, and maybe will get resurrected in the coming weeks. But how do you deal with, our nation's transportation system is crumbling. Everybody knows that. There have been countless studies on that. But how do you balance the need for improving the nation's infrastructure, building bridges with the environment? How is the administration doing that?
Well, here's what I'll say. I know there are people every single day who are working toward the Build Back Better dream and initiative, and also working to make sure that legislation does it doesn't die sort of, on the vine. I think there are a lot of great folks, including the secretary, who've been working hard to continue those discussions. What I will say is that the bipartisan infrastructure law will be transformative. So it is the single largest investment in our department, the Department of Energy, since its inception. And we have an extraordinary opportunity to create new jobs in communities that have never before seen the type of economic development that will be coming their way. But we also are going to be in partnership with those communities, thinking through the type of infrastructure, thinking through the ways in which we do infrastructure development in those places. So again, this speaks to that energy justice component, engaging communities at every step of the way in development. So not only do we have an extraordinary opportunity to create jobs, but we have an extraordinary opportunity to create new businesses. And so this is where the long-term wealth creation happens. So those new jobs are not just, jobs that are temporary in nature. We want to create long-term, life-sustaining, thriving jobs, or jobs that give, folks an opportunity to move up that economic ladder. And again, new businesses in those communities that, again, have been left behind in the past. And so that's the opportunity that we have. And that's what we're laser focused on every single day at the agency, making sure that every single program that we create under the bipartisan infrastructure law brings that economic development and those opportunities to communities. And you heard the secretary, maybe you heard her talk about this. She was giving testimony on the Hill today, and she talked about the ways that we're thinking about this opportunity and the ways that we're really, again, laser focused on the economic development components of the bipartisan infrastructure law and what that infrastructure really will mean for ordinary Americans.
It's interesting. You have a more optimistic approach than some others who are very disappointed that the Build Back Better has not passed yet. But you raised some good points about the transportation bill is a significant bill with significant funding that has been overdue and has been a bipartisan initiative that just hasn't passed until this Congress. But moving forward from that, how do you, as far as like working with stakeholders, if you think about, and on the optimism thought process is, business communities, oil and gas companies decades ago, they weren't talking about transitioning. You've written a book about transitioning. Just have you seen the business community and other stakeholders take this a lot more seriously in recent years? Because that obviously is some good news.
Well, I'm so delighted that you mentioned industry and different stakeholders in the business community, because every single day I talk to folks from the utility sector. I talk to, companies like GE that are really keen to understand what, again, we mean by energy justice and what the expectations of the agency will be as these industry leaders and stakeholders compete for those funds. And we have high expectations. So we do expect we do expect communities to be engaged in unprecedented ways by industry. And I think, there are some leaders out there. I think different folks are already kind of testing out different ways of doing this work, but it's not only the social engagement. So stakeholder engagement is only one part of the picture. We're really looking for ways that communities can be true economic partners in this historic development process. So there will be opportunities there. But I think you're giving the economic stakeholders, the industry stakeholders, a little bit of short shrift here. I mean, they're actually leaning in and very excited about what's next. Things like supplier diversity are also a big part of the conversation. There are many industry stakeholders that already have robust supplier diversity programs where they've been engaging underrepresented businesses for years. And so this too will be a part of the broader set of expectations that we have as we're rolling out the new programs under the bipartisan infrastructure law.
Shalanda, earlier you mentioned new jobs, and when you have new jobs, you need job training, and climate change is really about transitioning the workforce in a different way. How has that gone? What have you seen works as far as worker retraining, new jobs, moving people from old oil and gas jobs to new, like climate change, clean jobs? That's a challenge because, as you know, change, a lot of people don't like change.
Right. Well, so we have some help from Congress here, and there are ways in which Congress has embedded requirements that new energy projects go into those communities that have, as the member before me stated, been the source of all of that baseload power that we've had for so many generations. And so Congress was very keen on ensuring that those communities don't get left behind. And we talk about those communities here at the department as energy communities. So these are communities that have relied on fossil fuel industries to also fuel their economies. And so there are programs that are designed to reach those communities. And again, in our design of those programs and our rollout of those programs, we're ensuring that the workers don't get left behind in that. And so I think, the Secretary of Energy has mentioned in many public comments that there are a couple different kind of guiding principles in the way that we're thinking about this energy transition. One is, of course, equity. And I'm so, again, proud to be her equity advisor. That's our North Star at the agency. And the second, though, is creating high quality jobs. And again, in communities that have been left behind, as well as the communities that for so long have been a part of our economy and helped us get the lights on, right? I mean, that resonates with all of us here at the agency. So we're very careful in how we're thinking about program design to ensure that those workers don't get left behind, but we're also bringing new workers into this new economy, this new clean energy economy that's going to be created over the next 5 to 10 years.
Lots going on. Shalanda Baker, Deputy Director for Energy Justice at the Department of Energy. Thanks for joining me today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It was really a pleasure.